chào toàn thể quý khán giả. Mời quý vị đến với chương trình 50 năm viễn xứ của Đài Việt Face TV. Trong chương trình ngày hôm nay, Thanh Thảo rất hân hạnh được tiếp chuyện với ông Lawrence Chambers, là một phó đề đốc Hải quân Hoa Kỳ đã về hưu. Ông là người chỉ huy chiếc tàu hàng không mẫu hạm USS Midway vào những ngày cuối cùng của cuộc chiến Việt Nam trước khi Saigon sụp đổ vào ngày 30 tháng 4 năm 1975. Và ông đã có những hành động dũng cảm và phải nói là quyết liệt trong giây phút quyết định để có thể cứu được nhân mạng thay vì giữ tài sản theo lệnh của Hải quân Hoa Kỳ. Mời quý vị cùng xem buổi nói chuyện ngày hôm nay. Good day, sir. It's my honor to be able to interview you for this special program on VietFace TV. And I just introduced you as the retired Rear Admiral, U.S. Navy, who commanded the USS Midway.
Yes.
During the fall of Saigon in 1975.
That's correct. I was the brand new captain of...
Brand new, like 30 days
of Midway. At the time, I think it was 28 days in command. And we were ordered to participate in the evacuation of Saigon because the tanks were rolling from the north, invading the south. And as part of that, we had 10 big helicopters that belonged to the Air Force. And when the operation began, we launched those helicopters into Saigon to visit certain designated pickup points, including the American Embassy, to evacuate the Vietnamese and the Americans who were still left in Saigon. And then the second day of this operation, we had been receiving helicopters going and coming all through the night, rescuing Vietnamese and Americans who we were trying to evacuate from Saigon. In the middle of the second day of the operation, a little airplane showed up. It was a Cessna 01 Bird Dog, was the little single-engine airplane with no tail hook and not qualified for carry operations, showed up and started to circle the ship. And the admiral on board told me to tell the pilot to ditch. And it was obvious to me and the rest of my team that we could see two heads sitting in the cockpit. One was holding a small child, and we could see one head in the baggage compartment. So at that point in time, we knew that there were at least 4 souls on board. And the little airplane eventually dropped a note which stayed on deck. And the note actually said that there were 7 souls on board. And it was not an airplane equipped with a tailhook, which is what we use to capture the airplanes when they come aboard. And with...
So can I stop right here and ask you a question? Because it's an airplane that's not equipped to do the rescuing mission that your USS Midway was doing.
Yeah.
USS Midway was doing the rescuing with helicopters.
Yes.
Right? So go up straight. So this is an airplane that needs a runway.
Yes.
I see. So that's a huge difference.
Yes.
And I just want to stop right here and ask you, when you get the note, with 7 souls in that airplane, and your supervisor, the admiral on the ship, was saying, let him ditch, right? And you went against his command.
Right.
What went through your mind when you decided, hey, I'm going to try to save that plane and people on board?
What he was trying to tell me to do, I thought was the dumbest thing anybody could do. This airplane obviously was not equipped for carry operations, but it's also with fixed gear, it's not equipped for ditching at sea. And with the souls that were on board, only 2 people of the 7 souls on board were strapped in. So if it goes into the water, it's going to ditch, flip over, and you've got bodies flying everywhere. And so the odds are they're all going to perish. the major was probably going to perish trying to save his family, and it was not a good situation. And so I had a lot of helicopters on deck, and I could not clear the runway in order to give him...
Not only the helicopters, you have people, a lot of people on deck.
A lot of people on deck.
Okay.
And so the object was to clear the runway,
helicopters,
to give the pilot an opportunity to land on board. And I estimated that his landing speed was probably somewhere around 65 knots, or maybe, let's call it 70 miles an hour. And so I figured if I could get 40 knots of wind over the deck, then it's enough wind on the deck, though without a tail hook, he would be able to stop the airplane within the runway. And so at that point, I ordered the deck to be cleared, which caused the air boss to say some bad words to me. And I explained to him that I would give him some help. We tried to get a Vietnamese-speaking person in the control tower to see if we could talk to the pilot in Vietnamese in case he was kind of panicked and was reverting to his own language instead of speaking English. Turns out he didn't have a radio, so we didn't have any radio communications. And so I said I was going to make a ready deck, and at that point, my crew says, there's no place to put the helicopters. And I suggested that we were going to push them over the side and to clear the runway. And so I announced on the ship's general announcing system that all of the people who are responsible for the flight deck and for the air wing that weren't on watch to show up on the flight deck to give my crew some help in clearing the runway. And in that process, probably somewhere close to 1,500 to 2,000 souls showed up to assist the air boss in clearing the runway. The one thing that had saved us in anticipation of this operation, the chief engineer on the Midway had made sets of wheels. The Hueys are on skids, and the deck has a non-skid coating on it. So with that much friction, you can't push them over the side. And so with the wheels, if they rock the tail down, they could slide the wheels under the runners and then push them to the side and push them over the side. And we were in the process of clearing the runway, and the little airplane could see that we were getting ready. And we pushed quite a few. I didn't count them because since I was ordered not to do it, I knew that I was going to have to explain what I did. And I wanted to be able to say, we pushed a few things over the side. And since I didn't count them, I don't really know how many we did. But in today's dollars, it was probably more than $100 million worth of helicopters pushed over the side.
Oh, my goodness.
And we got the runway cleared, and we were turned into the wind. We were about to we didn't have any communications with the little airplane, but we have all these lamps. All airfields have them. You give them a green light, the deck's clear. Give them a red light, not yet. And after we cleared, 8 more Hueys landed right in the middle of the area where we had just cleared. And my air boss, who controls the flight deck, wanted to know what to do now. And I pointed out that 8 more over the side wasn't going to make any difference in the punishment that I was going to be subjected to, because 1, 25, who knows how many. It's kind of like grand larceny. I've already committed grand larceny with the number that I've pushed over the side.
And you already, in your mind, you were ready to face the court-martial.
I'm building my case to plead my court-martial when this was over. And so I told them, push those over the side too, which they did. And we had about 40 knots, about 45-mile-an-hour winds over the deck. And considering his speed, to be landing speed to be around 65 to 70 miles an hour, you can see the relative speed to the ship. It's doable. But when you get that high a wind over the deck, after the ship, there's a downdraft and then turbulence. And so it's pretty rough air back there. But that was the only way I could capture him. So I handled the runway. Now it's up to the major to be able to fly through the turbulence and to find the deck.
And land.
And land. And the guy was a beautiful pilot. He comes in, lands, makes a beautiful landing, and they taxied him up near the island, and all those people that were observing all gathered around the little airplane. They helped the major and his wife and his kids out, and of course, seeing those gruff sailors handling babies and it was beautiful. I was impressed with how well they had handled. And I had him bring the major up to the bridge where I was, and I took off my wings and I pinned him on the major. I made him an honorary naval aviator right on the spot. Anybody dumb enough to come out and think that they're going to make their first carrier landing with our wife and my kids all in the same little airplane, he's got to be crazy. And then somebody that's going to push all of the equipment over the side has got to be crazy too. So, that was the situation.
Crazy hero.
And you do the best you can, and you got to live with the results.
With the consequences.
Yeah.
Whether you choose to
whether I did the right thing or not, it's mine. There's full responsibility for it. So I'll accept whatever it is. But the thing that probably saved my fanny was the major was a good enough pilot to execute, and because he
actually landed,
because he actually did a good job, he saved me in the process.
So I read your biography, and you didn't get court-martial because of your action.
Well, I know he wanted to, but unfortunately, everybody out there pushed at least one or two helicopters over the side. When they were running out of gas, they all ran out of gas when they were at sea on our ships. They didn't run out of gas in Saigon, not being able to come back and make one more trip. So now the Admiral has a dilemma. He can court-martial me for disobeying his order and for pushing a huge number of helicopters over the side, but then aren't the other guys just as guilty for pushing helicopters over the side? So every ship out there pushed one or two over.
I see.
And so now the boss has the problem of, what do I do now? Am I going to hang everybody out there?
Yes.
And so under the circumstances, I got away with it clean.
But you just said that on your mind, you're already building your case.
Yes.
Okay, if two, you're going to get your court-martial, so five more, what's the matter?
Well, I was building my case because I wanted to be up to say that I don't know really how many helicopters I pushed over the side. And because I didn't count them when they went over. And it was a flurry of activity and pushing them over from a little bit everywhere. So if I'd sat there with a tally sheet saying...
You won't be able to do your
and there were too many things going on.
Right.
And besides, I had other people taking care of that, that problem. So we'd all have to testify.
Yeah, so if they court-martialed, everybody else will be responsible.
Well, no, only one guy is responsible. The other people will either be supportive or saying,
your order.
See, he was an idiot for doing what he did.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm so glad that you did this. To us, you're a hero, sir.
Thank you.
But when you read on newspaper everywhere in the world, and then you see, footage on TV showing just images of pretty good order helicopters being pushed overboard, and your carrier is like the most doing the most damages. And you said today's value is about $100 million today.
Probably, yes.
Yes. So how do you feel when you saw those images? And you at that time you didn't know if you would have been court-martialed.
I expected to be disciplined.
Right.
For
So what went on to your
well,
your
what
mind
went on
afterwards?
to my mind is when he dropped his note on board, it said how many souls he had on board, but it also said that he had enough fuel for 1 hour more of flight time. We were far enough at sea that he didn't have enough fuel to make it back to the beach.
I see.
And I found out we were both honored at Sun and Fun Air Show in Lakeland, Florida, 5 or 6 years ago for feats in aviation. And it was there that I discovered that his wife couldn't swim, and he had no intentions of ditching the airplane, regardless. So either I was going to give him a chance at it, or he was going to crash it on board. Wow. Those were his options, and it's a lot safer to give him a chance to land than it is to risk him trying to crash land on board with all of the people on deck, all of the equipment on deck, and not enough room to do it. And so with high enough winds over the deck, we had plenty of room for him to land. And so my job was to give him an opportunity. His job was he had to be a good enough aviator on his one and only try to make a carrier landing to be successful.
But when you decided to help him, you didn't know if he were a good pilot. You did not pilot.
I had no idea what his flying skills were, but I knew what it would take to recover the airplane. And so you do the best you can.
Right.
You make the best estimates you can, and then you accept full responsibility. Since the Admiral is now clear, he's already told me not to do it, so
right.
his hands are off.
Right.
But the thing is, when you're the one in charge, it doesn't matter whether he agrees or disagrees. I'm the one responsible, and so at that point,
commander.
You do what you think is the right thing to do. And besides, my grandmother would have said, "Boy, I didn't let you grow up to drown women and children," and that's the thing that's getting on my conscience was I got to live with my grandmother when this is over with.
And it's such great teaching. And thank you so much for your split-second decision that helped people.
Well, you know, many times in life you're tested, and you got to do what you know in your heart is the right thing to do. That you can live with. Even if they had court-martialed me and taken me off the ship, it still would have been, in my head, the right thing to do. Whether it was successful or not, it doesn't matter. It was the right
thing to do.
And one of these days, somebody is going to be surveying the South China Sea, and they're going to see all of those helicopters on the bottom over there, and no bodies associated with it. And they're going to wonder, what the hell happened here? That's my summary.
That's such a great story. Yeah. So 50 years later, you visited the USS Midway on the occasion of memorial of the war ending. How do you feel when you walk back on the deck?
Oh, it makes a grown man want to cry when you see all of those wonderful people that were given a chance. And what really bothers you is when you go into a war with both hands tied behind you and then you're going to execute this war, that's no place to be. If either we go into it to win it or don't do it. And so many of us have the regrets of saying, we didn't have to end up the way we did. Remember, we'd had a president to resign, then we had the vice president become president, and he couldn't get enough gatherings from the Congress to support him. And so that was the fundamental reason why we were where we were. It wasn't that we weren't capable of winning it. And a few years later, after Vietnam was opened up for American businessmen, when our first ambassador was a gentleman by the name of Peterson, who was a POW in Hanoi and was freed. And when we opened business up, he came back as our first ambassador and he did a beautiful job, and they loved him. He was a great guy. And so I think there's been a sense of forgiveness from both sides. And I had a meeting in Hanoi after it was opened back to American businessmen, and I knew some of those guys were ex-military. They knew I was ex-military. And when the meeting started off and said, Admiral, you guys were dumb and stupid. Why in the hell didn't you just bomb the dikes and get it over with? Because we couldn't have survived if you had bombed the dikes. And I spent the next almost 2 hours explaining why both hands were tied behind it. We weren't allowed to bomb the dikes because of the effect on the people. And that's the sum of the game. And we had a very productive meeting, and we got over each other, and we decided to work together to solve a couple of problems. And I still want to call it Saigon and not Ho Chi Minh City, because I'm old-fashioned. And it was a lovely place. And I had many visits in Vietnam after it was opened back up to American businessmen. And I would have thought they would have hated us. Even the guys up north, they were more afraid of the Chinese and the Russians than they were.
The rescue.
And I had an offer when I was out there. Cam Ranh Bay was an area that we built up during the war, and it was the only typhoon safe harbor in the area. And they gave me an offer. They wanted the U.S. to come back and kick the Russians out of Cam Ranh Bay. And I took it back to the Pentagon. No, they wouldn't touch it. But
at least you did your...
I did my part,
job.
Yes.
Going back to the story that you were a central figure in that rescue mission.
Yeah.
Are you still keeping in touch with Major Lee Beng? The person you saved.
Major Lee and I were at the 50th anniversary of the evacuation, and on the picture of Midway's magazine that just came out, there was a picture of Major Lee and I standing together. Both of us had given a talk to the thousands of Vietnamese that were on board. We had a good time. He's a great guy, and he's probably the bravest guy I've ever run into, because to think that I have no experience whatsoever. None of us ever made a pass at a carrier without making hundreds of practice landings on the field to simulate what our landings are. Major Lee didn't do this. He came out one try, one landing, and it was all over. The guy's incredible, absolutely incredible. And besides, he did such a good job, it probably saved my life.
So, Admiral, so when you look back, years later now, and you know that in your heart you had done the right thing, you've seen and kept in touch with the people you've saved, whose lives you've saved, what do you want to tell the younger generation who are trained to be USS commanders, who are great US naval officers, who someday could be the Rear Admiral like you? What do you tell them when they have to face moments when they have to make decisions like you did?
In life, many times you're going to have choices. And if you don't have a moral compass, many times you're going to make the wrong choice. Now, did I make all right choices growing up? No. I made my share of mistakes. And the big thing to remember is we respect human beings, we respect human life, and we're not going to throw anybody under the bus if there is a chance, if there's another option. And I think we're all brought up to do the best we can to save as many people as we can. And it's unfortunately that we had to get out of Vietnam at the time we did and the way we did. But that evacuation started way before the April event that caused it. Many refugees had been removed by commercial air before. And this evacuation was to save those people and to get our people out of Vietnam, and those that were closely associated with the Americans. You know, there were retraining camps that were promised for those folks. So that was not going to be easy for the Vietnamese that worked with us. So we tried to get as many out as we could. I don't know how good a job we did. We saved a lot of people, but was it good enough? I don't know. Even today, I don't know the answer.
Thank you for your time. To us, you are a hero. To me and the staff at Viet TV, it's an honor to be able to interview you and let your story be known around the world with our viewers. Before we end this story, you have anything to say to the viewers or the people who have known about the story now that they get to meet the person?
All I can say is if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't change a thing. I would have stayed there longer to get as many people as we could before the tanks had overrun Saigon. And I wish that we had done a better job at the time. And I think we were all committed. We did as best we could, but it wasn't perfect.
Thank you so much. And I wish you a wonderful time in your retirement. And thank you for your service.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.